The Prodigies of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Series 6. Volume 16, November 15th, 1923. In order to come to reign upon earth, the divine will wants to find the one who would receive it, comprehend it, and love it for all. So did the celestial Mamma in order to obtain the redemption. The creature is incapable of receiving the works of her Creator all at once. This is why she needs to receive minor things first, to dispose herself to receive greater ones. I felt as though sunken in the holy will of God, and it seemed to me that in my interior my sweet Jesus amused himself very much in sending me light, and I felt as though eclipsed within that light. I felt my mind being filled so much that I could not contain it, to the point that I said, "Jesus, my heart, don't you know that I am little? I cannot contain what you want to put into my intelligence." And Jesus, "Little daughter of mine, do not fear. Your Jesus shall let you drink this light in sips, so that you may receive it and comprehend it. Do you know what this light means? It is the light of my will. It is that divine will rejected by other creatures which, wanting to come to reign upon earth, wants to find someone who would receive it, comprehend it, and love it. In order to come and reign, it wants to find a little soul who would offer herself to receive all those acts which the Supreme Will had destined for each creature, to make them happy and holy, and to give them the goods it contains. Now this happiness, sanctity, and goods that the eternal will issued, in order to communicate them to the creature, as it issued the whole creation, are out and suspended. And if it does not find the one who would receive them, so as to give it all the homages, honors, and corteges that the other creatures have not given to it, it cannot come to reign upon earth. Therefore your task is to embrace all generations, in order to receive all the acts of the Supreme Will that they rejected, together with all the goods it contains. If you do not do so, my eternal will cannot put itself in feast to come and reign. It shall have the tears of the past sorrow, of how ungratefully it was rejected, and one who cries does not reign. Therefore it wants that the acts of its volition destined for each creature receive reparation. And not only this, but it wants someone who, with love, wants to receive its happiness and what it contains. And I, Jesus, my love, how can I do this? I am too little, and also a bad little one, and you know it. Even more, I fear I am unable to do it even for myself. How can I do it for others? And he again, "This is precisely why I have chosen you and keep you little, so that you may do nothing by yourself, but always together with me. I too know that, little as you are good at nothing, at the most at making me smile with your little trifles. Therefore your Jesus shall take care of everything. This is necessary, just as it was necessary, so that I might come to accomplish the redemption, that a little daughter of ours, my Mamma, take on as her task to receive within herself all the acts of our will rejected by creatures. She made them her own. She welcomed them with decorum. She loved them, repaired them, requited them, to the point of filling their whole expanses, as much as is possible for a creature. So when the divinity saw in this little one its will for creation reintegrated, not only for herself, but for all others, it felt so drawn that in addition to the many acts of its will in creation, It emitted the greatest act, the most sublime, the most prodigious, that this little one be the one to be raised to the exclusive and unique dignity of mother of her very Creator. I, eternal Word, could never have descended from heaven had I not found my will in her, reintegrated, just as we wanted it to be in the creature. What was, then, the cause that made me come upon earth? My will existing in a little creature. What did I care if she was little? All I cared about was that my will be safe in her, with no split on the part of her human will. Once our will was safe, all our rights were restored. The creature would place herself in order with her Creator, and the Creator would place himself in order with the creature. The purpose of creation was already fulfilled. Therefore we came to the deeds, that the Word would be made flesh, first to redeem man, and then so that our will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Ah, yes, it was my mamma who, taking into herself the whole of our will, issued for the good of creation, darted through the divinity with divine arrows, in such a way that, wounded by our own arrows, the Word was drawn into her womb like a powerful magnet. Nothing can we deny to the one who possesses our will. See then the necessity for which I want another creature to offer herself to receive into herself all the acts of my will that I issued in creation, so as to give completion to that fiat that I came to bring upon earth, and that was welcomed and understood only by my mamma. And this is why there was no division between me and her. The divinity wants to be wounded once again with its own darts, in order to give the generations this great good, that my will reign in them. Since this is the greatest thing it wants to give, the true origin of man, a human will is not enough to impetrate it, and even less to wound the divinity. But it takes a divine will, with which the soul, filling herself with it, may wound her Creator with his own arrows, in such a way that, wounded, he may open the heavens and let his will descend upon earth. More so, since he shall find his noble cortege, all the acts of his will lined up in the creature who has snatched from him this solemn act, that his will come to reign on earth with its complete triumph. On hearing this, I said to him, "My beloved good, your speaking confounds me. Even more, it annihilates me, to the point that I feel like a little newborn whose members are not yet well formed, and therefore it is necessary to swaddle her. And while swaddling clothes are necessary to me so that I may be formed, you want to unswaddle me. But to do what? To make me stretch out my little baby hands and embrace your eternal will. My Jesus, don't you see? I cannot reach. I cannot grab it. I am too little. And besides, if it pleases you so much that your will reign upon earth, why have you waited so long? And why, when you came upon earth, did you not do both things yourself? That is, the redemption and the fiat voluntas tua on earth as it is in heaven. You had strong and long arms to be able to embrace your endless will. See, O Jesus, mine are weak and short. How can I do that?" And he again, "Poor little child, you are right. My speaking confounds you. The light of my will eclipses you, and renders you the true newborn of the supreme will. Come into my arms. I shall swaddle you with the swaddling clothes of my own will, that it may strengthen your members with its strength. In this way it shall be easy for you to clasp into your little arms that eternal will which with so much love wants to come and reign within you." So I flung myself into his arms to let Jesus do to me whatever he wanted. Then again he added, I could very well have done both things myself when I came upon earth, but the creature is not capable of receiving the work of her Creator all at once, and I myself delight in giving always new surprises of love. And besides, the creature had profaned her taste with her own will. She had caused the breath of her soul to stink with so many ugly things as to be disgusting to me. She had reached the point of having a taste for the most revolting things, to the point of letting a rotten fluid flow over the three powers of her soul, such that her nobility could no longer be recognized. Therefore, first I had to take care of all this with my redemption, giving her all the remedies, giving all these evils the bath of my blood in order to wash them. Had I wanted to do both things, since man was so dirty, blind, and deaf, rendered so by his human will, he would not have had the eyes of the intelligence to comprehend my will, nor the ears to listen to it, nor the heart to receive it. And my will, not being understood, and finding no place in which to dwell, would have turned back to heaven again. Therefore it was necessary that man comprehend the goods of redemption first, so as to dispose himself to comprehend the good of the Fiat Voluntas Tua on earth as it is in heaven. The same would have happened with you also, if at the beginning, when I began to speak to you, I had spoken to you about my will. You would not have understood. I would have behaved like a teacher who, instead of teaching the first letters of the alphabet to his disciple, wanted to teach him sciences and foreign languages. Poor boy, he would get overwhelmed and would learn nothing. Instead, I wanted to speak to you of sufferings, of the virtues, things which are more accessible and more tangible for human nature, and which can be called the alphabet of the Christian life, the language of the exile, and of those who aspire to the celestial fatherland. On the other hand, my will is the language of heaven, and it begins there, where all other sciences and virtues end. My will is queen that dominates everything and crowns everyone, in such a way that before the sanctity of my will, all other virtues shrink and tremble. This is why I wanted to act as your teacher of the alphabet first, to dispose your intelligence, to then move on to act as your celestial and divine teacher, who only knows about the language of the fatherland and of the highest science which my will contains. First, I had to remove from you the taste for anything, because the human will has this poison. It makes one lose taste for the divine will. In all created things, since they had come out of me, I had placed a divine taste. But by doing her will, even in holy things, the soul does not find this taste. So in order to let you enjoy the taste of my will alone, I am attentive not to let you taste anything else, that I may dispose you to receive more sublime lessons about my will. If this was necessary for you, more so for the whole church, to which I had to make known the minor things first, and then the greatest of all, that is my will. Volume 16, November 24th, 1923. The Story of the Divine Will. How the Most Holy Virgin, for the work of redemption, made all the acts of the divine will her own, and prepared the food for her children. This is why she is Mother and Queen of the divine will. Luisa must do the same for the work of the Fiat Voluntas Tua. I was doing the hour of the Passion, in which my sorrowful mamma received her son, dead, into her arms, and placed him in the sepulchre. And in my interior I was saying, "My mamma, together with Jesus, I place all souls into your arms, that you may recognize them all as your children, inscribe them one by one into your heart, and place them inside the wounds of Jesus. They are the children of your immense sorrow, and this is enough for you to recognize them and love them. And I want to place all generations in the supreme will, so that no one may be missing. And in the name of all, I give you comforts, compassions, and divine reliefs." Now while I was saying this, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, if you knew with what food my sorrowful mamma nourished all these children." And I, "What was it, O my Jesus?" And he again, "Since you, Luisa, are my little one, chosen by me for the mission of my will, and you live in that fiat in which you were created, I want to make known to you the story of my eternal will, its joys and its sorrows, its effects, its immense value, what it did and what it received, and the one who took to heart its defense. The little ones are more attentive in listening to me, because their minds are not filled with other things. They are as though empty of everything, and if one wants to give them a different food, they feel disgusted, because being little they are used to taking only the milk of my will, which more than loving mother keeps them attached to its divine breast to nourish them abundantly. And they remain with their little mouths opened, waiting for the milk of my teachings. And I amuse myself very much. Oh, how beautiful it is to see them, now smiling, now rejoicing, now crying, in hearing me narrate the story of my will. Well then, the origin of my will is eternal. Never did sorrow enter into it. Among the divine persons, this will was in highest concord. Even more, it was one. In each act it emitted, both ad intra and ad extra, it gave us infinite joys, new contentments, immense happiness. And when we wanted to issue the machine of creation, how much glory, how many harmonies and honor did it not give to us? As soon as the fiat was released, this fiat diffused our beauty, our light, our power, order, harmony, love, sanctity, everything. And we remained glorified by our own virtues, in seeing, by means of our fiat, the flowering of our divinity veiled in the whole universe. Our will did not stop. Swollen with love as it was, it wanted to create man. And you know his story. Therefore I move forward. Ah, it was he who caused the first sorrow to my will. He tried to embitter the one who loved him so much, and who had made him happy. My will wept more than a tender mother who weeps over her son, who is crippled and blind only because he withdrew from the will of his mother. My will wanted to be the first actor in man, for nothing else but to give him new surprises of love, of joys, of happiness, of light, of riches. It wanted to always give. This is why it wanted to act. But man wanted to do his will and broke it from the divine. If only he had never done that. My will withdrew, and he fell into the abyss of all evils. Now, in order to rejoin these two wills, one was needed who would contain a divine will within himself. Therefore, since I, eternal Word, loved this man with an eternal love, we, the divine persons, decreed together that I was to take on human flesh in order to come and save him, and to rejoin the two broken wills. But where to descend? Who would be the one who would lend her flesh to her Creator? This is why we chose one creature, and by virtue of the foreseen merits of the future Redeemer, she was exempted from original sin. Her will and ours were one. It was this celestial creature that understood the story of our will. We narrated everything to her, as to a little one, the sorrow of our will, and how by breaking his will from ours, ungrateful man had constrained our will within the divine circle, almost hampering it in its designs, preventing it from communicating to him its goods and the purpose for which he had been created. For us, to give is to make ourselves happy, as well as the one who receives from us. It is to enrich without being impoverished. It is to give what we are by nature, forming it in the creature by grace. It is to go out of ourselves, to give what we possess. By giving, our love pours itself out, and our will makes feast. If we were not to give, why would we form the creation? So the mere being unable to give to our children, to our dear images, was like a mourning for our supreme will. Just in seeing man operate, speak, walk, without the connection of our will, because it had been broken by him, and that currents of graces, of light, of sanctity, of science, and so forth, would run to him, had he been with us, but could not, our will took the attitude of sorrow. In each active creature there was a sorrow for us, because we saw that act empty of divine value, without beauty and sanctity, completely dissimilar from our acts. Oh, how the celestial little one understood this highest sorrow of ours, and the great evil of man in withdrawing from our will. Oh, how many times she cried hot tears because of our sorrow, and because of the great misfortune of man. Therefore, fearing, she did not want to concede even one act of life to her own will. This is why she remained little, because her will had no life in her. How could she become grown up? But that which she did not do, our will did. It raised her all beautiful, holy, divine. It enriched her so much as to make of her the greatest of all. She was a prodigy of our will, a prodigy of grace, of beauty, of sanctity. But she remained always little, so much so that she would never descend from our arms, and taking to heart our defense, she repaid all the sorrowful acts of the supreme will. And not only was she completely in order with our will, but she made all the acts of creatures her own, absorbing into herself all our will rejected by them. She repaired it, she loved it, and keeping it as though deposited within her virginal heart, she prepared the food of our will for all creatures. Do you see, then, with what food this most loving mother nourishes her children? It cost her all her life, unheard of pains, the very life of her son, to form within herself the abundant deposit of this food of my will, and to keep it ready to nourish all her children as tender and loving mother. She could not love her children more. By giving them this food, her love had reached the ultimate degree. Therefore, among the many titles that she has, The most beautiful title that could be given to her is that of Mother and Queen of the Divine Will. Now, my daughter, if my mamma did this for the work of redemption, so must you for the work of the Fiat Voluntas Tua. Your will must have no life in you, and making all the acts of my will for each creature your own, you will deposit them within yourself, and while repaying my will in the name of all, you shall form within yourself all the necessary food to nourish all generations with the food of my will. Each saying, each effect, each additional knowledge about it shall be one more taste that they shall find in this food, in such a way that they shall eat it with avidity. Everything I tell you about my volition shall serve to whet their appetite, and so that they may take no other food at the cost of any sacrifice. If a food were said to be good, to restore one's strengths, to heal the sick, to contain all tastes, and even more to give life, to embellish and make one happy, who would not make any sacrifice in order to take this food? So it shall be for my will. In order to make it loved and desired, knowledge is necessary. Therefore be attentive. Receive within yourself this deposit of my will, so that as a second mother you may prepare the food for our children. In doing so you shall imitate my mamma. It shall cost you much as well, but in the face of my will any sacrifice shall seem nothing to you. Do it as a little one. Never descend from my arms, and I shall continue to narrate to you the story of my will. Volume 16, December 4th, 1923. Jesus speaks of the necessity of knowledge. See, this would have happened in redemption if my dear mamma had not wanted to make known that she was my mother, that she had conceived me in her virginal womb, that she nourished me with her milk. My coming upon earth, redemption, would give of the incredible, and no one would have been moved to believe and to take the goods contained in redemption. On the other hand, because my mother made known who she was, the one who is exempt from every stain, also of origin a prodigy of grace, and how she loved all creatures as tender children, and for love of them she sacrificed the life of her Son and God, redemption received greater importance, became more accessible to the human mind, and formed the kingdom of redemption with its copious effects. So, braiding my mother with the work of redemption was nothing other than giving more importance to the great good that I came to do upon earth. Having to be visible to all, taking on human flesh, I had to use a creature from the human race, whom I had to exalt above all, in order to accomplish my high designs. You have reached the end of the Prodigies of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Volume 16, Part 2. Fiat.